Progress has been made on my 8D8 life-size Star Wars droid from Droid Division for my ultimate build series. This is part 3. In the past couple videos, I went in on why I was doing this project and the beginning, basically just starting it. But let's get into it. I've got a lot to explain and go into. This is not a straightforward build. There's a lot of things that I had to adjust on the fly. There's a lot of things I had to do with the files in general. It wasn't just a print and play anymore, like the first part of this build was. I had to go through a lot of hoops with it, but that's why we're here. That's why we do this channel, to get challenging prints, get challenging 3D printing in and make it work. Because a lot of things and in life don't just aren't that easy, right? You have to kind of work at it. But anyway, it's a lot of fun still, and I learned a lot with this. So let's get right into this. So the first major challenge going forward with this was bringing in the rest of the files to get it all printed. My goal was to get everything printed and assembled as a dry assembly and just have the droid sitting there so I can just progress with the sanding and painting of it. There is no movement I'm expecting to add to this droid. It's going to be a static build. There will be some electronics and a speaker and everything, but again, has nothing to do with it. So I was more concerned about the structural integrity of the droid itself. Saying that, now that's why I was having some problems with the files that Droid Division provided, because at first, when the legs were coming in, they were cut and designed and sliced so I could just print and assemble, and then everything was structurally stable. Everything had pegs, everything had slots to go in. Going forward now with the torso and the arms especially, and the hips area, which we'll see in a moment when everything was going, there's odd angles, there's overhangs, everything, and the files were just kind of like, here's the part, that's it. There was no cut, there was no slice, there was no dowels, there was no inserts, nothing. I had to do that on my own. I don't know if they just expected, or they test print and said, here it is, here's the part, just print as is, the orientation as is. I wasn't confident with that, and I wasn't comfortable with that. So I made the decisions to cut and add dowels on my own through the bamboo slicing setting, and I'll give an example here just to kind of like go for it and show you guys that it's possible to take complicated parts and cut them up to print correctly. Alright guys, I brought in the part that I knew I was going to give you the most headache just by bringing it in the way they wanted you to print it. I'm assuming the way they wanted you to print it, because there was nothing else but this part. No guides on their spec sheet or anything. This is it. Looking at it, you see all these kind of odd angles. It's just going to be floating in there. You know, it's going to be a part floating, and depending all on the supports, which is going to be a lot of cleanup on the other underside. Now, I know it can print this way, and you probably can have a good successful print, but that's not what I like. I just don't like that. So, giving you guys a preview, look at all that support and all that cleanup. I mean, the part's going to be basically not on the print bed itself. Given a lot of territory for failure, so not my thing. Not saying that it can't do it correctly, but again, not my thing. So, for the majority of the parts on this project, this is what I had to do. So with the cut feature on Bamboo Slicer, and I'm sure other slicers have this too, so if you actually need this option, just look for the cut, and it's used for taking complicated items like this and piecing them out into smaller sections for ease of printing, or a bigger piece that you need to fit on your build plate. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and cut this part just to show you what I had to do basically for the rest of this project, which was very, very frustrating and very scary because I didn't know what was going to kind of like pass or fail. Anyway, I'd find an area that I was comfortable with the two sections, and I would add connectors, and in this program I would add the dowels and make those 3 millimeters, which were great, and I would add one on each section. For alignment, I would confirm the cut and the dowels, and now I have my two sections. And then I would go ahead and make sure, make sure that these were on the build plate and print in a way that I was comfortable with. And it's sometimes going vertical with things, doesn't always work, but add some brim and some support, and there you go. See, with the supports, especially with the organic supports, everything worked a lot better. I had zero problems and zero failures doing it this way. Not the prettiest, but again, you guys let me know if I was wrong to not trust the orientation of the provided files, and I did it myself. I proved it by building it this way, and I don't think the structural integrity was compromised any bit because I really did glue these parts together, and I did test them with some strength tests and weight. But this is how I had to do the entire project moving forward. And you can see what the entire project opened up here. There was a lot of these files that I had to do this with. It's not shown here with these two, what I just did for you guys, but the behind these guys back here were the legs, and they came out fantastic. They had parts, they had connections. That's great. But I had to go ahead and slice the way I just showed you for almost every other plate moving forward, and yeah, that's part of it. That's part of 3D printing. The obstacles, you have to learn how to do it. The other part was this torso. They gave us a small parts for the big torso, but no connections, and I did not catch that to add my own. So I went ahead and printed 20-hour prints, 19-hour prints for the torso. There was 4 main parts of it, and you'll see when I'm assembling it is that I just put glue and aligned it as best I could, because there was no dowels, there's no alignment pins or anything. Again, those are just kind of the obstacles you do face with purchasing files from other people or downloading for free. Sometimes you have to put in some extra work. It's not always a plug and play situation. But yeah, it just depends on the creators. So yeah, I was doing those cuts on parts that was pulling in from this project, and I was sending them off to the printers, and they were coming out great. I had zero problems with any fails. I didn't have any parts being knocked off. Even the small little dowels were printing great. Printed it all on the Bamboo Lab printers, which you guys know I'm a fan of the Bamboo Labs. They're just workhorses, and they come out so good. Like they print really well. Yeah, so going through all the files and everything else, and the hours and hours put into us. It was over several weeks that I was printing this project on, and was very excited and very anxious to get into this assembly and gluing it and seeing a life-size droid for the first time. But yeah, printing was flawless. It was awesome. I did print this all in PLA, okay, and I know that I have been exploring, or I've seen other people do these droid builds, and they do ABS or PETG for strength, right? For a little bit more durability with the filament type. I don't know. I think I'm just not there yet in that in my droid builds, right? Because again, these are statues that are going to be sitting in this room here, or just my collection, just have fun with it. So I know that I probably will be switching to PETG in the future, or ABS once I get a printer set up. But right now, just PLA, and it's doing just right. So after all the printing is done, let's get all the parts laid out before us and see the project at hand. And yeah, let's get it all cleaned up and ready for assembly. Real quick, I have a tip for you guys that I came across, and it's a tool. It's a tool that I would not expect to be using for 3D printing, but it's also like after I got it, it's like a no-brainer. MM's Prop Shop, special shout out. If you haven't checked her channel out, please do. She's all into these big droid builds and everything, and I'm a big fan of that site. I'm a big fan of her. She turned me on to this foot sander, okay? and it's a foot sander, like you would actually, it's for your feet, for pedicures and whatnot. And it's a little handheld sander that doesn't rotate in vast speed, so it won't melt your prints. And there is a speed control. And I got this because what she was using for her projects, and I just used it to rough up sections as I was gluing parts together, especially on big surface area parts. Thank you so much, Prop Shop. I again, keep up the great work. I know you will. Big fan of your channel. And yeah, so I just wanted to get that tool out there because it's kind of a game changer, and I can't wait to do more. Anyway, back to the build. This is the time where assembling a project and taking your time and putting pieces together and glue them together. I put on a movie and I come home from work and I start to do this as a hobby. This is where I really get into the hobby aspect of it. And yes, it's a lot of work, especially when you're seeing all these parts and you're trying to kind of make heads or tails of it, and kind of gets overwhelming. But also I take a step back too as I'm putting these pieces together and try to envision the final droid or 3D printed item or whatever you're doing, whatever project you're doing, and to kind of get that visuals, like where it's gonna be, and who you're gonna show it to, especially when you get into the painting and the final reveal of it, and how cool it's gonna be to actually pluck a Star Wars droid out of the movies and you put it into your hobby room, living room, whatever. But yeah, again, going back to the talking points, when people come over and they're like, you're nuts for doing that, and yeah, I am. I've been collecting action figures a long time, and I've been into Star Wars for a long time, so it's just a great opportunity to take a step back as I'm doing this section of it, where I'm gluing pieces and just kind of making little pieces into bigger pieces, into the final build, whatever. I just kind of reflect a little bit on how cool this hobby is, and how awesome my 10-year-old self, how awesome it would be to tell my 10-year-old self, one day you can be doing these life-size droid builds. If you're not working in the industries yourself, it's almost like you're taking part of that home. So, and again, I just want to share that a little bit, where if you're doing these for yourself, do take some time and just kind of reflect on that. Man, I get to do this. This is really cool. And start to, again, start thinking about the painting process. How am I gonna, when these come together and everything, how am I gonna weather this droid? How am I gonna paint this droid? And you start to really take the scope of this project in, and it goes for all the other projects, but Star Wars droids, especially for me personally, it's a journey that I absolutely love, and I will continue to do it. It's as much trouble as I have for files or creating my own, which I do, I still find those moments of this is amazing, this is awesome. Now that I got all the pieces glued into bigger pieces that will assemble the droid, everything is going to be dry fitted now. We're going to assemble them all. He's going to stand on its own and make sure that we have everything going forward, so we don't have to go backwards. No more printing. We're done printing now. So yeah, let's get them assembled. So guys, now that I've gotten to this point where minus some the details, like some of the back details and little greeblies that go on the droid for extra, again, the smaller parts and everything, it's all here. He's standing. I put the bolts in there, again, dry fit. I sanded to the point where the parts can go together, and I can get to the point where I can disassemble him now and start to paint him. Start sanding, the process of sanding, which is the most tedious project of all 3D printing. And then the painting, it gets it all together, and then now you have it. And it's just fantastic to look at a full-size droid in your room or wherever you have them and everything. And yeah, so I now will start to disassemble him and start that process. Again, using that foot sander, using all kinds of tools that I learned, from other channels and other builders out there. And yeah, let's start to think about the next part of this, because the next part is going to be the actual reveal of what this 8D8 droid will be, and then we'll see what kind of electronics we can put into him and all that stuff. Just like the pit droid here, it's the same kind of process, but we're steps closer. We're way closer now than we were in the few previous parts of this build series. And thank you so much for making it all the way. For those of you that made it all this way to this build, this video, I appreciate you guys so much that you took the time to just join me on this journey, or started the journey yourself, or even thinking about starting a 3D printed journey. So I'm an enabler. I want everybody to be into it. So yeah, like and subscribe. Hit that bell notification for future projects that I've got going on. The Christmas time is right around the corner, so if you guys see my Halloween builds, you'll know that I'm going to be into the Christmas builds. Bigger, better, everything else, epic. And then, of course, continuing the droid build here, and a lot of other ones, and the vlog series. Everything is going on this channel, so again, thank you guys so much. Until the next video, I will see you guys. Print something epic.